Lakeland Currents, your public affairs program for North Central Minnesota. Production funding for Lakeland Currents is made possible by Bemidji Regional Airport, serving the region with daily flights to Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. More information available at bemidjiairport.org. Closed captioning for Lakeland Currents is sponsored by Nisswa Tax Service, tax preparation for businesses and individuals. Online at nisswatax.com.
Hello again. My name is Jason Edens, and I'm the host of Lakeland Currents here in our Brainerd studio. Thanks for joining us again, and thanks for your support. Friends, cities all across the United States, big and small, are revitalizing their downtown districts. Revitalization is an economic engine, and not just for the downtown district, but for the region as a whole. It creates jobs, it attracts visitors from near and far, it creates recreational amenities and green spaces, and Brainerd is no exception. In fact, Brainerd is rapidly setting the bar for downtown revitalization efforts in our region and beyond. The Destination Downtown Brainerd Business Challenge is a catalyst in this broad effort. And here to tell us more about this challenge are the grand champions of the third annual Destination Downtown Business Challenge, the Crow Wing Food Co-op. Teresa and Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for having us.
Of course. So you've been working on this Destination Downtown Challenge for quite some time, so you're obviously very familiar with the challenge. Our viewers are probably not as familiar. So before you tell us about the challenge, please introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your role at the Crow Wing Food Co-op.
Right. My name is Teresa Woodward. I'm the current president for our board of directors, and I was also a previous manager of the Crow Wing Food Co-op many years ago. And you're
the board president, correct?
Yes, I'm the board president, and I'm in my second term. So.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And I joined the board in May of 2018 and have been on the board since, and I'm currently the capital committee chair working to raise funds to support the expansion and another project expansion that we have in mind as well.
Excellent. Well, again, you're very familiar with the challenge, but many of our viewers may not be. So can you kind of set the stage for us? Tell us a little bit about the challenge, why it's important to the co-op, and how you intend to leverage your victory.
Well, the Destination Downtown contest was set up to drive new energy and new business ideas into our downtown to help as a catalyst for future growth. The first year we had Purple Fern who won, the second year we had the bakery that has opened now, and now the third year we have the three finalists who are all opening this next year, and the grand prize champion, which was our Crow Wing Food Co-op.
This was the first time that they allowed expansion opportunities to participate in the contest. So when we learned that an expansion idea was applicable, we decided immediately to apply. We had been thinking about expanding somehow, but our current facility is just not big enough. It's not well suited for expansion in the current location. So we had kind of been pondering how we could expand and move anyway. And so then when this contest came up, there was a building downtown that we thought would fit our needs, and so we decided immediately to apply. And so we intend to leverage this and win and do our best to win substantial community investment otherwise. Co-ops are required to operate at cost. That's one of our operating values. That's a core tenet of a co-op. So in addition to, we can accrue a small savings account, but otherwise we spend what we earn, or we give the revenues back to members as dividends. So it's difficult then to save substantial amounts of money when you're operating at cost to, have the giant savings account that might be necessary to fund an expansion. So this is super helpful for us because it gives us the boost that we need and the assistance from a range of community, of a substantial, of powerful local businesses who are ready to invest their time and energy into us and help us with the move. And also the contest itself gave such energy and such media attention to the co-op. Now a lot more people understand who we are and what we're trying to do. And so we have a much broader audience already, even as we work toward our expansion this summer.
I wasn't aware of that co-ops had to operate at cost. So I want to ask you a little bit more about that in a moment. But first of all, it's my understanding that the co-op, the Crow Wing Food Co-op, as the grand champion, won $65,000. So I'm curious, is that coming in a briefcase? Or how exactly are you going to receive this prize money?
it's all in services from established businesses in the community who have agreed to invest in the winner and the second and third place finalists win support from them as well. So it comes in the form of, for instance, internet and phone service from CTC, a rent subsidy from the HRA, from the Brainerd HRA. The Deluxe Corporation has given $20,000 in media and branding assistance. Wow. So we are taking that right now to create a new logo and a new brand identity for the co-op, and they'll be helping us create a new website and a marketing campaign for the future. So that kind of thing is something the co-op has never had the funds to invest in before, and now it's just going to help launch us onto another level, I believe.
So this is the third and final year that the Destination Downtown Business Challenge will take place.
Correct.
And it's also the first year that there have been runner-ups. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes.
So you had some relatively stiff competition.
Yes.
Who were the runner-up?
Yes.
Who were the runners-up?
There are two Minnesota makerspace, which is a very cool idea and they're opening up a space downtown where you can go and use their tools to create different projects, tools that people don't have in their house typically. So that's a very cool idea. And the other one is Lodi Oils and Vinegar, and they sell high-end appliances in addition to really nice oils and vinegars.
So both of those companies will also be moving downtown as
Correct.
part of this challenge.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, Makerspace will be opening up soon. They're already doing renovations in their space, and they'll be on 7th Street.
Oh,
so that's been exciting to watch.
Super
to
exciting.
Drive by in the evenings when I'm done at work and see what they're doing.
Will you be collaborating with them in any way, shape, or form? Is that part of your plan as fellow winners, if you will?
Part of the Destination Downtown contest was to establish not just the 3 winners and the momentum going forward, but the contest has transpired into a coalition of downtown business owners. So now, as downtown business owners, we're all working together to do events, to give each other support, to help with networking.
So we hope to collaborate with the entire
they're a
business
part of the
community
entity
downtown.
and the momentum going forward
Interesting.
that we get to work with.
So in preparation for our conversation, I learned that Minnesota has almost more co-ops than any other state in the nation. Some of them, of course, are agricultural co-ops, some of them are utilities, and of course many food co-ops. And that's not on a per capita basis, that's just sheer number. However, many people may not exactly be familiar with the distinction between a co-op and another type of business. So what is a co-op?
A cooperative is a group of people who have come together for a like service. So there are grain cooperatives. We have a food cooperative in Brainerd. So our cooperative will operate at cost. It's member owned, and if there are any dividends, then those are, or any excess at the end of the year, it's paid out in salary or in dividends back to the employees. And our Brainerd Cooperative had celebrated its 40th anniversary last year.
Wow.
We're one of the
fantastic.
oldest food co-ops in Minnesota.
No kidding.
Yes, longest running anyway. The oldest is the Finland Food Co-op, and some of the initial food co-ops were founded out of pure necessity in sort of remote Minnesota rural locations where how else were you going to get flour and sugar and coffee and maybe some things that needed to be imported? But also, if you're a farmer in that area and you have an excess of one product,
no market.
what are you going to do? You need to trade. You need to collaborate with your community. And so that's how a lot of the food co-ops came about. Many others were founded in the Twin Cities in the 60s and the 70s. As sort of a countercultural movement, but also an effort to just bring more natural foods into communities, which weren't readily available at some points in history. Once we moved to more processed white flours and that sort of thing, whole wheat flour was sort of hard to find. So these co-ops came together to make sure there was an everyday source for these bulk, healthier foods that people wanted in the community anyway.
So I'm actually a member of the co-op. I think I joined in 1999, if I'm not mistaken. How will this expansion, how will this victory change the experience for the average co-op member? What will be different for me and my member experience?
The expansion project that we were looking at was pretty significant. That's one of the qualifiers for the contest, is that we are actually going to quadruple the size of what we are offering for the Crowing Food Co-op. So your member experience is going to go from our small building with limited offerings to something where we can network with more farmers and more producers in the area. We can carry things from a greater distance. We can access a larger distribution network instead of the minimal one that we have access to right now, which is approximately going to give a 15% price drop because we'll be able to bulk buy immediately. That's the member difference right now, is you'll walk in the door and everything is going to be 15% less on the shelf. It's huge for our members.
We'll have significantly more space to offer more products. We are going to also add a deli and smoothie bar, so there'll be healthy, ready-made foods that are, grab and go options that are also made from local products as much as possible. We have so many wonderful farmers in our community, and in our current space, we just don't have the space to work with as many. So we hope to bring in a lot more locally produced foods from the farmers in our region and the bakers and other food producers in our region as well. There are many locally based businesses here that with more space, we can work with more of them and bring their products in and sell them right here in our community. So, and as Teresa was getting at, with more space, we can have more dry storage, which will increase our purchasing power, which means we can buy more of a product and sell it at a lower rate because we have the inventory in the back. We also will install larger walk-in coolers and freezers, which will enable us to buy more meat from local farmers and that sort of thing, and also potentially facilitate something like a CSA, community-supported agriculture. If a farmer can't provide that service themselves, maybe we can. Maybe we can create a CSA where you come in and you buy, for a monthly fee, you've got your box of vegetables right there.
Interesting.
So there's a lot more that we can do, and there's a lot more product that we can offer. And then having the deli and smoothie bar, our members have long desired.
That's super exciting.
Yes.
So it sounds like you're still dreaming and visioning what this will look like. One question that I have is, over the course of the past decade or more, you've had 2 locations on Washington Avenue. And this move, this relocation, this expansion, it's really only a couple blocks. You must be moving less than a quarter mile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is it worth the effort?
It's 4 times the retail square feet. In addition to that, the space we're looking at, we're hoping to sign a lease in the next couple weeks at the corner of 7th and Laurel. The initial space has 3,500 square feet, and there's 2,000 more square feet in the back. So we have 2 phases of expansion in mind. The first is to move into the bigger space and get the new freezers and coolers and the deli set up and running. And eventually our goal is to work toward raising the funds we need to install a kitchen and meeting space in the back. And it will the specifics of that will be determined based on what the community needs. We initially thought that hopefully we could install a full commercial kitchen that would be rentable for other food-based businesses. But as we've talked more with other partners, we're realizing that may not be necessary in downtown Brainerd, so it's possible we will shift more toward a demonstration kitchen, which would be amazing because then we could work with a range of community partners to host cooking classes and nutrition classes, gardening classes. There's so much we could do with the kitchen and meeting space right there next to each other. And if that ends up not being necessary because that exists already in the city, which is possible, then we would just do a kitchen for the co-op to use. And then the co-op can create many more products to be sold at the deli and sold in the store. And we could potentially make homemade soups and breads and the range of things that the co-op might sell.
Your enthusiasm is infectious. It's obvious you're very excited about this. To what extent did you source information and input from your member base? Because as you said, you have thousands of members, correct?
Yes.
So how were they involved in kind of designing this move and this expansion?
Over the past couple of years, when I started in 2017, we started with surveys, and we surveyed our membership, not on a large scale, but verbally, from who was participating actively at the co-op and who was coming to our member meetings. And we started asking, what more do you want? What do you need? What can we provide? How much are you actually seeing of our local farmers, and how much do you know about our local farmers who are selling their products through our co-op? We didn't have the the farmer representation and the family representation that we wanted with our membership. We didn't have the direct contact that we thought we could provide. We started looking at the avenues that we could expand the offerings that we currently have, and we went through plan after plan after plan. And there wasn't anything feasible in the small location that we had where we could start to offer more of the things that we needed or more of the things that we wanted to provide. And so it became a larger expansion project. And we're looking at, over the next couple of years, we did larger surveys. We ended up going into the emails and the updates and things. Then we, for the end of the process, because we are member owned, our members decide. Our board doesn't get to say, we're going to take our co-op and do this. It's a member decision. And when we voted at a special member meeting at the end of 2019, we voted for the expansion project, and we received a unanimous vote from our membership. Not one vote came in against the expansion project.
That's a rarity.
We have
unanimous.
Unanimous, absolutely unanimous amongst our membership to expand.
That's a remarkable achievement.
Yes.
So, Teresa, you're also a business owner in downtown Brainerd.
Yes, I am.
So, from the perspective of a business owner, why are you excited about the Destination Downtown Challenge? What do you envision for the future of downtown Brainerd? Why is this move of the co-op specifically important to you, or of value to you?
My bookstore has been, I have Cattails Books and Gifts on Laurel Street, and my bookstore has been there for 21, going on 22 years. It wasn't always the best part of Laurel Street, and my hope getting involved when I bought my store 4 years ago was that we could change downtown and we could make some changes, bring some new things in, clean things up a little bit, and have a family environment. And I've told people this before, I see a success story in our downtown. Our downtown is exactly where I wanted it to be. If you're shopping, you can walk down the street with your kids and you can have a family day where you're shopping and doing things downtown, and there are fun stores to shop in, there are fun places to eat. It is a neat downtown, and I am so proud to be a part of it.
That's fantastic.
It's
I couldn't
a lot
agree
of
more.
fun. And now we're going to have a grocery store, we're going to have a maker's market, we're going to have a lot of really neat stuff downtown.
What does Brainerd look like in 10 years?
Well, I will tell you that I envision a beautiful co-op at the corner of 7th and Laurel Street. I would love to install some food and farming-based murals on the outside of that building. It's a nice cobbled sidewalk right there, so I imagine a couple of patio tables where people can have a cup of soup or a smoothie. There's a farmer's market sometimes in that parking lot right next door. Brainerd has struggled. Downtown Brainerd has struggled in some recent years with the addition of the mall and then 371 bypass and online shopping. All of those things have contributed to fewer local people emphasizing and prioritizing spending dollars at the local businesses. And thankfully, our chamber and other entities have come together to reinvest in downtown Brainerd, and to really remind us all with the Lakes Proud campaign how important it is to buy locally whenever we can. So that's changing, like Teresa said. Downtown is already looking so wonderful, and with the addition of the co-op downtown, we have dreams of shutting off Laurel Street for downtown fairs and street fairs, and I think it's going to be a wonderful partnership.
So $65,000
Yes.
in in-kind business services, does that cover everything
No.
for the move and the expansion? Will that essentially facilitate the entire process?
Definitely not. It's not enough, but it's a wonderful starting point. We've put together a budget, and I think the building that we're looking at moving in is in really good condition. So the renovations that are needed there are modest. The landlords have agreed to help us install the accessible bathroom that's necessary. So otherwise, the changes that we have planned for the building are really modest. We want to pull up the carpet and polish concrete. We'll paint a little bit. We'll have to make some changes to make the deli up to code for the state. But by and large, it's the installation of our new equipment and making it particular for a grocery store, changing the flooring and that sort of thing. The changes are not extensive. So we've put together a project budget, which is not an exorbitant amount of money, but it's in a reasonable amount of money. We are working with a range of community investors to try to raise that money so we can do this in a really way that's financially responsible for the co-op. We would like to not burden the co-op with debt for years to come, given that it's something of a risk to expand the store and greatly increase our monthly expenses. We want to do it all in a very responsible manner. So we're seeking grants. I've been already submitting some grant proposals to the Otto Bremer Trust, and I'm submitting one to Crowing Power, and many other local and regional foundations will submit one to the Good Food Access Fund for the state of Department of Agriculture. So we're looking for such a range of community investment. We've also asked our members, we've also changed membership dues and asked members to invest in this project as well. So we're looking at a range of investments to raise the funds we need. It's not a huge amount of money, but it's a substantial amount. So hopefully we'll be able to do this without taking on debt.
So would these investments come in the form of gifts, or would these investors actually take an ownership stake in the co-op as members or equity investors? Can co-ops have equity investors?
There is such a thing as member loans and that sort of thing, but no, I mean there isn't a model where a person should invest in a co-op and expect a financial return. Okay. We've set up a fiscal sponsorship with NCEDA and Region 5, so we can pursue grant funding in that way. And we'll also do some crowdfunding potentially too, where we'll sell branded items to the community and ask for community support in return. So investment is not the right word potentially if you're looking at it as investment with the option for returns.
Sure.
No, we're looking at investments in the city of Brainerd, in the Crowing Food Co-op, in the downtown region. It's an investment in community. It's not an investment for financial return.
Understood. So $65,000 is not going to cover everything.
No.
So what is approximately the total cost of this venture?
The budget that we currently have is about $300,000, and that's a stretch budget. That's a big budget that also includes a line item, for instance, for $20,000, where I hope we can work with community partners and give reduced cost memberships to low-income community members, and do a significant amount of outreach to make sure we're reaching like the Mille Lacs Band and low-income people right in the city of Brainerd. Brainerd has a substantial poverty rate, so what can we do with people who live near the co-op? What can we do to make sure that the fresh food that we're bringing into downtown Brainerd is accessible to the people who really need it? So that's one thing we hope to do is offer low-cost memberships to a range of people to help them get in the door and help them achieve access to the kinds of member benefits that exist. And broaden our reach and broaden our community connections that way.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I want to explore that just a little bit further. But first of all, it's no secret that there are dozens of grocers in the Brainerd Lakes area. Why would someone come downtown to go grocery shopping as opposed to some of the other grocers in the area? What's the draw? Why should someone come to the Crowing Food Co-op in downtown Brainerd?
We have moved to a large distribution food system in large retail locations. With that, when there's a recall on romaine lettuce, it affects multiple chains owned by a few companies throughout this distribution area. When we are a smaller business with a smaller network, we are not a part of the larger distribution scale. So we're going to carry the smaller brands that cannot supply the quantity or be a part of that larger thing. So the family farms, the small independent creameries, the small independent cooperatives that are doing, say they only have 3 or 4 farms at their granary, we're able to work with those smaller ones that can't produce on the massive scale to feed the big box stores. And it gives us a separate food market and a separate niche, so you're able to connect more with those independent farmers in that small region. And it also gives us an exemption from all of the massive recalls when they go through.
Interesting.
Exactly. Co-ops focus on locally produced foods by and large. Co-ops tend to sell 10 times more local foods than commercial retailers.
10 times?
10 times, generally speaking, yes. So that is the focus of our expansion. There are so many wonderful farmers in our community, and we know of one producer in our area, for instance, who has already applied for grant funding to install another high tunnel with the express intention of growing more heirloom produce that can be sold at Crowing Food Co-op. So there are producers in our community, and the co-op will aggregate them together, bring their products together in one location. Co-op members typically prioritize their food budget. Co-op members are typically willing to spend maybe a little bit more on something with the understanding that it comes from a family farmer down the street or 20 miles away in Motley or wherever it might be. We will focus on foods grown within 100 miles of our community here. And that means supporting families in our community. And that's a really powerful action, and it feels really good. I believe food that is grown by a farmer in my community is more satisfying than than food grown in a farm in an unnamed place across an international border.
Sure. So the reason then to come downtown is because you can support local family farms, locally grown food, higher quality, I'm hearing you say, potentially. Is that correct?
Yes, and another thing that we hope to do is install a larger bulk food section, so we'll really be focusing on sustainability and eco-friendly practices. That means we will help people understand how to buy foods from a bulk container without creating any waste. You can bring a container, a Tupperware, or a jar from home, fill it up, and bring a staple of food home with creating zero waste. That kind of practice is possible at a co-op where it's not necessarily possible at Costco.
So finally, in conclusion, I wanted to ask you all a little bit about what you've already spoken to, Jennifer, which is access. Are the whole foods and locally grown foods accessible to our lower income community members? And what is the co-op going to do in order to ensure that the services, the goods and services that y'all provide are equally accessible? Is shopping at a co-op a privilege, or is it a right? Or tell me a little bit about how you're going to ensure that the foods are equally accessible to lower income community members.
We've worked with several and been in contact with several community organizations, our county offices, places throughout our community, and we know that there is an established need. We are currently serving a smaller portion of that need than we would like. Currently, you can use your benefits cards or your food benefits at the co-op. So if you have food allergies, if you have special dietary requirements, if it's the only spot you can walk to, you can bring your benefits in and you can use your food benefits at the Crowing Food Co-op in our current location. With the new location, we'll have expanded offerings and those food benefits will have a bigger value. We've also been in contact with some of our county offices and the City of Brainerd for the food market, the farmers market that takes place in the Laurel Street parking lot on Tuesdays during the summer months. And we're going to expand our reach to be able to cover that food market as well. So the benefit dollars will not just be able to be used at the co-op, but they'll actually be able to walk into the farmers market and use their benefit dollars directly to a farmer. So our funding this food program is not just going to put food on the table for the people who need it, it's also going to give an extra paycheck to the farmers who are producing. And I think that that makes our benefit dollars, when we're talking about food benefits in our community, that doubles the value of the dollar.
That's super
It's feeding
exciting.
2 families.
Well, congratulations
Thank you.
to both of you, to the Crowing Food Co-op, to all of your members for being the grand champion of the 3rd and final Destination Downtown Business Challenge.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us once again, and we really appreciate your support here at Lakeland Public TV. And today we've been talking about the Destination Downtown Business Challenge with the grand champions, Crowing Food Co-op.